Well, I was speaking of fortune changing like the swish of a horse's tail. It
Nice
seemed.
to see you back.
So let's land here. There are so many connections necessary. The conditions necessary for this to work are so outrageously complex. But born again, right here, right now. Let's land. Allowing the ear door to be open, we hear sounds. More accurately, recognizing the ear door in its openness. Acknowledging the truth of in-breathing and out-breathing. It really exists. It comes and goes, moment by moment. Let your body settle into stillness. There is a mysterious awareness here. This experience of breathing in and breathing out is as regular as the seasons. As regular as the coming and going of daylight. Each breath is different from all the others, but they come in this pattern like waves breaking on a beach. The direction of our journey takes us toward this moment, simply aware of whatever happens. And we give ourselves some support, some directionality by Choosing mindfulness of in-breathing and out-breathing as our vehicle. We can cultivate mindfulness and concentration and all the enlightenment factors right here with this breathing in and breathing out. Each breath has a beginning. It doesn't exist, and then it does. If pleasure arises, don't hesitate to enjoy it fully. There are pleasures in meditation that are not dependent upon the outer world. The pleasure of concentration, of equanimity, the pleasure of awareness, the contentment that can arise. If the mind is colored by wanting, by desire, or by disliking, or by restlessness and agitation, or by sleepy dullness, or by doubt, or by some emotional preoccupation, simply turn toward it and open. In the world of weather, squalls come, and snow comes, and wind comes, and beautiful sunny days come, and then they go. And so it is with the inner weather. Climbing into the breath and resting. In the Mahasi Sayadaw tradition of insight meditation from Burma, there's a lot of emphasis placed on noting. When breathing in is happening, we note rising of the chest and abdomen. Or if you're paying attention to the breath at the nostrils, it's in, out, out. Rising, falling. Or when a noise, a sound attracts attention, one notes hearing. If the mind interprets that as a crow, perceiving, returning to breath, rising, falling. If the mind is captured by worry, we notice worrying, or planning, returning, rising, falling. And the notes occupy maybe 5% of our life energy. They're just little pointers that point at the direct experience. As you can experience, it takes no thinking to breathe. It takes no thinking to be aware of breathing. It takes no thinking to be aware of hearing. In fact, it takes no thinking to be aware of thinking. We set ourselves free from the tyranny of thought. Simply landing in the actual sensations of in-breathing and out-breathing, right here, right now. Everything we experience through the sense doors has the nature of coming into being and then disappearing. As the mind becomes more and more clear and precise and unclouded, undisturbed, the truth of this flashing into being and disappearing becomes more apparent. There is a certain awesomeness about it, a certain at some points terrifying truth to perceive everything coming and going like this. And so insight meditation ripens. On the other end of the paradox is this separate identity, this birth, this body. We might practice love and gratitude for a few moments for this very body. Yes, of course it has its problems. I discover, particularly as age creeps along, aging, there's more hurting, there's more aching, there's less flexibility, there's more medical issues. But what a miraculous thing, your body. It started a long time ago with a sperm and an egg, the dance of DNA, and then your birth. You breathed, you took your first breath, it worked. Digestion has worked, for better or for worse, all these years. Thank your body. Seeing has worked. Perhaps is still working well. Thank your body for seeing. Hearing has worked. May still be working just fine. Maybe with some assistance, but still hearing. Think about all the things your body does. It manages salinity and water load, and the blood supply brings oxygen to every cell that needs it. Right now, it's infinitely complex. Why not cultivate an attitude of love and gratitude toward your body? It's so easy to get fixated on it's too this, or not enough of that, or it's been sick in this way for so long, or it always hurts. coming to an attitude toward the body of deep love and compassion. And everyone else on the planet, every other human, every other being, has an experience of the body. Otherwise, consciousness would have no place to reside. Why not wish all beings well? Clearly, their bodies will get sick and fade and fail and disappear. But right now, why not take some delight, or at least be equanimous about the body? Looking forward to today with your imagination, you could imagine getting up from where you're sitting and going and doing whatever's next. Or maybe you have an errand to do today, or someone to meet online or in person even. Imagine doing that with awareness of the body. Thank you, dear body, for driving the car. And please now bringing awareness into the region of the eyes, and then doing what's necessary to open the eyes, to peel back the eyelids, and come to seeing. Seeing. How does that happen? Consciousness. How utterly strange. Seeing. I rather like that poem that I stumbled upon this morning. It would have taken so little, a flick of a finger, to make him burn. I looked into his eyes and saw the billion lifetimes that he and I had been running around the same circle together. What does that mean? How many opportunities in a day do we have to not go with our reflex, to actually be awake? Billions, maybe. Certainly a few dozen. Sorry for dropping out on you there, and those of you on YouTube as well. The internet got a hiccup. I have really high-speed downloads and uploads here at home now, and who knows what happened. It hiccuped. So I have a Jim. Would you like to speak briefly about your Qigong half day?
Alrighty, thank you. Yeah, I've been struck by your little reflection on appreciating the body and realizing that you don't need to think about it in order to appreciate it. And each time we focus in on the sensations of moving, that represents a billion different functional interlocking systems, which your reflection kind of triggered in me while I was listening, and I thought that's why we practice qigong, to stop thinking and to drop into the feeling of the awesomeness of this nervous system, and that leads to gratitude, and gratitude opens the heart. So that's what we're going to do Saturday. So you're welcome to join me. It'll be fun.
Thank you, Jim. Alicia, would you like to pop in and speak about the Tough Shed?
Yes, absolutely. Good morning, everyone. I am here to tell you that we are more than halfway toward our funding campaign goal. And just to kind of pick up on what Robert said earlier, there are so many things, such an enormous complexity that goes into all that happens in order for us to be together in the mornings. And so this campaign is really a way to reduce some of the complexity on Robert's end, make it just that much easier for all of this to happen between us. So if you haven't already, I encourage you to take a look at the campaign page. I posted it to chat. I thought I would just go ahead and read a couple of the comments that we've had so far from folks who've donated. This will all be, I won't make attributions, but one of the comments is, the opportunity to sit each morning has changed the PIMC experience. Thank you. Bowing in gratitude. In gratitude for Robert, the Dharma, and the Sangha. It's a 30-minute drive to get to PIMC. Longer for me. Robert's commitment to the Sangha deserves the support of the Sangha. It's hard to imagine how we would have gotten through the last 3 months without his morning wisdom. So if any of those things resonate with you, especially today, I invite you to go to the GoFundMe page and contribute as you can. If you don't catch the link, just know that you can go to GoFundMe.com and put in Out of the Tent, and it will pop up. And you can donate anonymously. Many people have. And of course, you're always free to leave a message. So thank you all so much. We're getting there.
Thank you, Alicia, and thanks to everyone who's contributed. It's so interesting to be on the receiving end of something like this. It's a little embarrassing and touching and interesting. The electrician was here yesterday and figured out how to run power to it, and so we're moving ahead. It looks like it's a go at this point, so it's pretty wonderful. Very wonderful. And to not leave out PIMC, there's a link on the chat which will take you to how to contribute to PIMC. To keep the center going, before too long, I hope we'll be getting back in there. I'm experiencing a very interesting thing, which is that there's two fellows who are documentary makers, who are creating a documentary of PIMC's journey. They're coming here some morning late this week. They'll be over there on the other side of my desk to create some documentation of these broadcasts. And then they want to be there the day we first get back into PIMC. And to see it as kind of like a paradigm of what it's been like for so many churches and mosques and Dharma centers. And how have we made it through this time of COVID-19? So I hope the grand re-entry into the center is soon, though we'll see. Okay, let's open it up for a few minutes of what's happening with you folks.
Hey, Robert. Can you hear me, Robert?
Yes.
Hi, Robert. We got as far as the hospital with the mountain injury story,
Oh,
and our connection ended there. Was there more you wanted to share with us?
Madigan Hospital. Yes, I then had surgery to repair my leg. And it was awful, the pain following that surgery. The doctor, the orthopedic surgeon said, "You think it hurts now. After the surgery, it's really going to hurt." And he was right. Orthopedic surgery. They put little titanium anchors into my kneecap, and then they reached up into my leg and got the quads and then pulled them down. And then they attached them. And it's my stronger leg again now, many years later. Anyway, it was about the article that I wrote, which is on the robertbeatty.com website. It's called The Swish of a Horse's Tail. Fortune changes like the swish of a horse's tail. That's an article written by Robert on drugs. I wrote it on serious pain meds in the days following the surgery. But there's a great picture of the helicopter pulling me up, but it was by way of introducing that fortune changes. None of us know. We could be in the hospital by the end of today, or we could be dead, or we could be, who knows what'll happen. Someone we thought we lost a long time ago could appear at our door. It's just unpredictable.
And as I recall from the story, you had transformative experiences with Tara.
Yeah,
during that experience.
It was wild. Yeah, it was amazing.
She grew up a lot. Yeah.
She did. She got left behind by the helicopter and hiked out with a very fundamentalist Christian family. She was 13, and she had a really nice time with them and learned a lot. It was 2 days hiking out with them. Thanks.
It's a time when that whole military apparatus, you see the many sides of that.
Oh yeah.
It was huge military helicopter, right?
It was a Blackhawk. It was a Blackhawk one of the, I can wax poetic about that. To be in that litter, and to be hauled up into a Blackhawk, one is not being hauled up into something that feels fluttery. It's like this giant boulder that is parked in the sky, and you just go. It's really quite something. And then suddenly, 20 minutes later, you're in the hospital. Amazing miracle.
Yeah. Great story for anyone who hasn't read it. Yeah.
Thanks, Tim. How's it going out there, my friends? Out there, funny. It's as though this is in. I'm out. You're in.
Robert, excuse me. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. It's Pamela.
Hello, Pamela.
Hey. Last night I got to encounter my reactiveness because I had some frustration with getting into the book study group, and when I have frustration that comes up against time, I can be reactive, and I found myself trying to be mindful about my reactivity and notice it, and notice it in my belly, and be a little bit more mindful about choosing my words. And I thought I succeeded partially, but not as well as I'd like. And then I realized that I felt within this company of people that I realized how good it feels to be in a community where we all have our stuff, and it shows up every once in a while, and how instead of beating myself up and being angry at myself for being irritated or being unskillful,
Right.
I just thought, yeah, we all do stuff, and this is a place of acceptance. It just kind of came to me in that experiential way. What a wonderful experience it is to be in a community like this. Thank you all.
I have a little mantra that I wind up using, I guess, more than I wish I did, which goes like this. Well, Robert, human again. Yeah. I'm glad you got in last night, though. That was good. Finally.
Yeah, me too. It was a good group.
Yeah.
Thank you for your assistance with that.
For those of you that don't know, PIMC's doing a 10-session gathering around the book Me and White Supremacy. And the first meeting was last night, and it was very good. Lots of organization, and but also some great learning will come from that for many or all of us, I think. And it's still possible to attend if you wanted to come next week.
Robert, this is Paula Keeney up in Briar, Washington.
Hello.
Hello. I was thinking along the lines of the book study.
Uh-huh.
There is a webinar that is tomorrow. It's put on by the University of Hawaii, which I am alumni of.
Mm-hmm.
And the title of it is Reclaiming Humanity, Racism, Violence, Resistance, and Love. And it's a live interview with author and humanitarian Michael Bennett. And let's see. Michael Bennett is the author of the New York Times best-selling book, Things That Make White People Uncomfortable, and co-founder of the Bennett Foundation, which promotes health and nutrition in underserved and minority communities. He also, well, there's a lot more here, but he also was one of the Seattle Seahawks, which is, I think, also interesting. The webinar is tomorrow at 3:00, and I'm going to put if it's all right with you, I'm going to put my email in the chat.
Great.
And I can send a link for people to register.
Excellent. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you. Okay.
Hi, Robert. It's Trisha.
Hello, Trisha.
How are you?
I'm pretty good this morning.
I was thinking about what the part that you were talking about around appreciating our bodies and how miraculous they are, and it truly is amazing how many functions our bodies can do without us having to even think about it, and the complexity of everything that happens in order for us to go about our day that's just happening in the background that we never have to think about. And it struck me that with that brilliance of nature, and that that we can't replicate if we try, how is it that
nature hasn't gotten as far as giving us a consciousness that reflects that brilliance, that that miraculousness, and that we're somehow stuck with this consciousness that allows us to function in the world with such difficulty and so much hatred and so much violence. And like the poem that you were talking about, that you quoted this morning, where it goes on and on and on, this domination of men over women and whites over people of color, and it's and the mess that we create with our consciousness. It's like, how did it come about that we didn't get a consciousness that reflects the miraculousness of the rest of our body? Can you speak to that?
I believe this is one of the 10 questions the Buddha said leads to madness. What's the first origin of beings, and that kind of question. Then it's funny watching the mind as you were speaking. One of my very favorite cartoons, maybe my very favorite cartoon, is the one of it. It's the old white man God who's taking the earth out of the oven and saying, "Dang, it's only half baked." That we emerged, our species, life emerged out of who knows where, and we're evolving, and miraculous enough, maybe 2,600 years ago, someone woke up, and people have been waking up, no doubt, before that, and that the direction of consciousness, one could say, is toward awakening, but we're really unbaked, we're half baked. And then the responsibility falls to us as individuals. How can I manifest? How can I bring the potential of consciousness to fruition and really become loving and awake? But it's quite a question. Does that make any sense or relate at all? It's that why question is going to drive us mad. Why, and
You just think we'd be a lot farther along by now.
well, yeah, I could get myself in hot water here and say, well, compared to single-cell organisms, we've come a long ways, but still, yeah, we're so primitive. We so quickly resort to, and this whole long conversation we could have about, until recently, in order to survive as individuals and as a species, we had to flash into anger and rage and attack and defense in a heartbeat. One of the hypotheses I once heard that there was the Buddha and Mahavir and several of the great world and Jesus great world traditions started within seconds of each other, really. And why? Well, it was the first time that there were excess crops, and where people could devote themselves to, big truck going by, could devote themselves to spiritual practice as opposed to being on guard and defending themselves. But that's just an eye blink ago. So one can, and I've heard the argument made, we're culturally evolving at light speed. Now, whether it will be quick enough or not is an open question. But I was bemoaning the violence toward women and that whole issue, and a woman actually took me to task and said, well, yes, it's true, we're still pretty primitive, but what we've done in the last 100 years compared to the previous 100,000 or more, it's suddenly the genie's out of the bottle, and suddenly we're changing, and it's not fast enough, and But it is remarkable. One of the things she said was a woman can travel across North America now and most probably be okay. That's brand new.
So it's a matter of perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, Robert, it's KB.
KB, hello.
First of all, thank you so much for that poem. I touched my nose while listening to you. I just wanted to give you a little shot of hope. Today is the day that my group, Citizens Climate Lobby, will be speaking with Senator Wyden's office, and this whole week we've got meetings with every single representative and senator in the nation, and we are continuing to work on environmental policy, knowing that we have a very short window, and trying to tie it into what would be part of a Green New Deal type situation with fairness for fairness for the groups that are being hardest hit, and of course are socially also being hardest hit, and creating jobs and trying to solve the problem. So I just wanted you to know that we're still working, and we're doing our best.
Thank you, KB. You're such a model of activism and trying to bring love into the mix. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks to you, I'm really feeling much better. This break, this strange COVID break, has put me into a situation where I am not as active, and it's given me a kind of a retreat-like perspective that's been like a little more of a gentle landing for me, and I'm seeing a lot of things that it's taken 4 years for the hard head here to grasp a lot of the stuff you've been saying, but it's sinking in, and it's starting to flower, and it's surprising me. So thank you.
How lovely. And that reminds me that yesterday the
Yes, yay! So great.
The Supreme Court came out with a pretty surprise ruling in favor of LGBTQI being real people and having rights. Yay! Who knew? Thanks. A voice.
The poem was amazing. I'm the poetry guy. This is Jim.
I know. Hi.
And the poem today was pretty amazing also. I have a problem. I actually just listen to the poems, and I don't write down the source or anything. So then they're gone. Okay. But the thing of the image at the end when she's flicking the finger and the fire, it kind of reminded me of a story. Maybe you could quickly repeat it about. I once had a problem with hate, and you said, "Well, think about hate like a red hot ember in your hand, and you're holding on to it, you know." And wow, that really kind of worked. But I, how does it go about the red hot ember in the hand that's burning?
Oh, it's straight from the Buddha that cherishing resentment, holding on to resentment, holding on to our victim story, and then being angry at the other person.
Yeah.
That especially when the other person died 40 years ago or something, it's like reaching into a fire and picking up a burning coal, and then our hand is burning and burning, and I resent, I hate, and then what we realize we could do is open our hand and let the ember fall out. The modern rendition of that is, it's like going to Home Depot and buying rat poison and eating it and hoping the rats will die.
I like the first image better of the
yeah, burning. It's the burning coal, and what a relief it is when an old resentment is there, and we can actually relinquish it and realize I don't need to hold on to that anymore. Which, of course, doesn't mean there isn't lots of work to do on the way, and sometimes. Sometimes calling the police, sometimes prosecuting, sometimes doing the actions that we need to take to protect ourselves and the world. But then the final piece is to let go of the resentment.
is that what the girl was doing in the poem today with the fire and so on? Was she sort of letting go of it at the end? I mean, she was looking into the eyes of the...
I think she was talking about an enlightenment experience, about her moment when she realized what's really true. I think all these poems are that. That's how they're presented in the Pali Canon anyway. That they wrote these poems when they realized, when they were free. That's why it's called The First Free Women.
Got it. Thank you.
And it's a pretty radical thing that happens, that they describe again and again.
Robert, there's
Jim.
more to the poem.
There is?
Yes. Keep reading. You stopped in the middle.
Holy
now I know
shit.
how to know what happens, Robert.
Holy shit. It goes on for 2 more pages. Well, I'll read it right now.
Post it?
No, because I don't have... I could photograph. Let me try. I'll read the end of it. Jim, that's great. That's it. Well, I haven't read it, so let's see what we find. Then I walked all the way down to the darkest parts of my own mind and stood in front of the blazing roar as countless lifetimes of fear and revenge threw themselves into the furnace. Burn with me, my sisters. And when you're ready, come up from that dark place where you've gone to be alone forever. The path leads directly through these vast worlds of fear and hate. We have all wounded and been wounded. We have all been made to feel weak. Yes, there is great strength in the darkness. Yes, the mind can be used as a knife or a chain. Yes, your whole world is burning itself to the ground. Ask the lizard how long this has been going on. Ask the sunflower and her million seeds. The mind is more powerful than you can possibly imagine. Ask yourself what you're really prepared to give up in order to be free. Whoa. Ask yourself what you're really prepared to give up in order to be free.
Wow, thank you. Thanks for finishing the poem. I was trying to finish it in my head.
Well, thanks, Jim. Funny. Well, anybody sitting with something you'd like to share, please. Maybe one more person and then we'll go. I'm aware of a little embarrassment. It's like, oh no, that was bad. I thought it was good like it was. Funny. All right. Shall we close with the dial tone of the universe? Some Om for a few seconds. Let's do that. And we'll end with a gong. Unmuting all. Om. Om. All right, dear friends, may all beings everywhere share in the merits of our practice. Have a lovely mindful day, observing things coming and going.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, dear friends.